you talked about, you got a guy who's ready to have a breakdown in the supermarket, right? Mm-hmm. And he notices the child in the stroller, and the colors, and the food all around him. He's giving himself to the outside world. Can you give yourself, this is a two-part question, can you give yourself to the inside world at all? So a lot of times, it seems like Zen is about making relationship with the situation, and the situation is on the outside. Mm-hmm. But when you have something like mindfulness or Vipassana, there's a lot of like turning that focus inward and noting energy that's coming up, naming it, mm-hmm. And kind of beginning to develop a knowledge of yourself, of how you operate, of how the ego arises. Is there any place for that in Zen? I mean, a lot of times the complaint that people have is that we don't know what's going on inside of us, and mm-hmm. we're not in touch with our emotions, and we are a little bit too hard, and we do kind of dismiss personal feelings and that sort of thing. I get this complaint again and again and again as observation from people. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Please speak to that.
Well, okay. There is this experience of self that everybody has, but Zen is really radical in some sense because there's no fixing the self, right? You can't fix it because, first of all, there's nothing there to break. The problem is that we've erected something that we perceive as broken, right? Or not affirmed, and that can happen, especially when you because working with people, in our group, when you have a difficult childhood, right? These things leave scars,
right?
And you could say that everybody limps in a certain way, right? But the thing is, what Zen seems to teach, according to where I'm at these days, is that the problem isn't with trying to fix the self. The problem is trying to is that we can't negate the self. That we can't that we don't trust. We don't trust the world enough to negate the self, right? And so because we don't trust the world enough, we feel that I can't do that because A, B, or C, or I should do this because A, B, and C, because I was burned before, and if I and if we base all of our actions on our problems, right? If we make that the focus of our actions, then all we're doing is bringing that problem forward to the future, right? So I never solve a problem, an emotional problem, by looking at it directly. I mean, that's not true. In my experience, when emotional problem, I've had emotional problems like everybody else. They come up by themselves, and my job is to see how I can make a relationship with it. How I can, and there may be something tangible that you need to do. Maybe you need to confront your parents and just face them with you know what, you hurt me, in some way, and I just need to let you know that I have scars because of it, mm-hmm. and you should know that. And then the forgiveness can happen. Like for me, that's always been the case. To rather than putting up a wall, or rather than trying to ignore it completely, right. Like there's no wall here at all, you can't do either. What you have to do is make a relationship. So I find that for instance, it's interesting, I have a design background, and the most amazing solutions I have to my problems come to me when I bring the problem up on the cushion. Yeah. And the thing is, and it's only through and it's letting go of the problem through breath, and then somehow the unconscious takes over, and and all of these amazing solutions that I literally could sit for days and be stumped, but then 1 hour on the cushion, and it's like a flower blooming, and all of these solutions that I hadn't dreamed of, and all different, completely coming from different perspectives, completely different approaches to the same problem, where before I was just stuck in my myopic understanding of what was going on and where I needed to go, right? And that's what I see as the danger with trying to deal with an injured self objectively, or through self-analysis in some way, because you have a preconceived idea of where you have to go, right? I want it to be better, right? In some way, in some idealized version. And how do I get there? Yeah, it shouldn't be this way, right? And I think that we can't help but close down most of the alternative answers, right? And some of which are the best answers in my experience.
So what you're saying is you make relationship with the outside through practice.
Right.
And now we're talking about making relationship with the inside.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that when you make relationship with the outside completely, that the self that is born out of that relationship, out of that boundless experience, out of that little death, that self is fresh and new, right? And that self won't have any problems until you bring them up again, until you go to that place where the problem is. But from moment to moment, the new self has no problem, just like a baby that's born. But in terms of people, what happens is every moment to be able to experience the birth of that new self, birth of that new moment, untainted by all the crap, rather than dragging it forward and trying to pound it out or twist it into the form that you're trying to do. You say you can experience the self being reborn completely fresh and new, and then the problem isn't me. The problem is conditional. It's conditional, yeah. And so maybe we can look at this in a different way. You need to not take the self. What that does for us, the practice, it proves to ourselves that we are not prisoners of the self. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. The jail door is wide open, mm-hmm. right? That doesn't mean that we don't spend time in jail. But what we discover is, you know what? The door is open, yeah? So you don't feel trapped in the self anymore. That's to me is the main benefit. Like we're here because there's something to learn. Of course, the world is incomplete. We're incomplete. We gotta. The whole job is to complete ourselves, right? But the thing is that we can complete ourselves at all different levels, and every level of completion is a true level. Every level is a true escape from the world of conditions.
What do you mean by completion?
When inside and outside inside, outside, and self come together, right? When they're divided, that's incomplete. The self only exists between mother and father. It's made of a little bit of mother and father, and so it's incomplete. So it's always looking at objects, right? But it needs to. Desire is just the self realizing that it needs to complete itself somehow. And the problem is we think that we can only complete ourselves with the things we like, and we can't complete ourselves with the things we don't like again. So this is getting stuck on desires. Desires aren't bad. Attachment to desires are bad, right?
So when you said you're not a Zen master.
No.
So someone who is a Zen master, how would you understand their completion?
I have no idea.
Well,
I mean, you had experience with Sasaki Roshi. I've had experience with a number of Roshis, and they seem to I have no idea. You know, I'll let you know what it's like. It's like dying. You know, I'll let you know after it happens. You know?
Maybe they're really free of the self.
Could be
completely.
Could,
You think? Do you think that's possible?
I think the principle is the same. I think it's just a matter of practice. Like in the Blue Cliff Record, which is one of the collections of koans, it says that the adepts practice continuously, 24 hours a day. It's just and why wouldn't you? That's the thing. When you really discover that place between moments and go deeper and deeper into that boundless peace, that boundless source, right? Why get caught up in the veil of tears, right? When you know you're always just a heartbeat away from perfect freedom, from freedom from it.
It's hard to do because you have these attachments and fears and patterns and habits, and it's hard to know what first step to take.
Yeah, well, Roshi always used to say, there's nothing that people love more than themselves, right? And it's true. And I always say, for me, suffering, attachment is, why does attachment happen? Because the world is so freaking beautiful, right? Because there are such things that we just really love, and we really hate, and it's fun to love, and it's fun to hate, and because if we don't hate, then we can't really love. And just this whole experience of diversity is unbelievable. It's amazing. It's so interesting. You know, of course, it's painful as hell sometimes, but also it's wonderful. And so it's easy to get drunk on the beauty of the world, of the cosmos.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. We're just drunk on the self. We're drunk on the beauty of the self. But the thing is, what we
hangover.
But no, well, the hangover, right? The hangover is hell. But the thing is, what Zen gives us is like, you know what? Hold off. It's even more beautiful than you think. There's a whole nother side that you don't even know about. Let me show you. This is the Zen allegory of somebody carrying a plank on their head, on their shoulder, right? They only see half the world, even though they're perfectly capable of seeing twice of what they see if they just put down the thing that's blocking them from it.
Yeah.
Right? So like I said, it's like you get all of the benefit of diversity, plus the benefit of boundless without attachment to either.
Do you think
It's a deal.
Do you think you have to have reach a certain level of suffering in a certain number of different contexts to finally say, I need to check into ego rehab, like I need to do a practice?
Yeah, otherwise, why would you? You know, I think this is the first noble truth.
Yeah.
And everybody has to discover it to one degree. The more you discover, the more firmly, the more completely you've discovered it, I think the more driven you'll be in your practice, right?
Yeah.
But so this is why they say in the Rinzai Roku, he says, and people who are caught in the clutches of agreeable circumstances will have a difficult rebirth, right? So it's great to be rich and happy and healthy, you know, but can you also be selfless, you know? And by selfless I mean not attached to the self, not attached to all of that stuff you have. Can it be taken from you and you still be happy? Right?
Any questions?
No. Is that it?